Have you seen the Incredibles 2 teaser?
Yes, but come on. Who likes Jack? I did not like him in the movie.
Jack's the best.
I don't want just...
Hey, welcome to episode 24 of the FBE Podcast, the only place where you can hang out with folks from FBE for more than 15 to 20-minute periods on YouTube. This is your after hours, because we shoot it late in the day, although it releases at various times.
Early in the morning.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's recorded after hours, late at night, with the fine folks and staff and reactors, and sometimes YouTube friends that stop by our FBE offices here in LA. Very special episode tonight. We have Benny. You already heard him.
It's me
mocking the premise of this podcast.
I'm not mocking the premise. I'm just realistic about the realities of the podcast.
You don't even know when does it release on SoundCloud. See, you don't even know.
Thursdays.
Okay, but you don't know when.
No,
it could release late at night.
But it
just on YouTube. When I forget, it does. On YouTube, it releases on Friday mornings. Joining us this week, Chris. Say hello.
Hello.
That's the voice of Chris. And Sid. Say hello.
Hello there.
That's the voice of Sid. These are two people from our social media and programming team right now.
What?
Sid's official title is traffic coordinator. Chris's is channel coordinator. We're going to get into all what the heck does that mean.
It's so interesting.
And more here on this episode of FBE Podcast.
I like that you just went right with the abbreviations. You were like, it's Chris and Sid versus Kristen and Sydney. Why is that?
We've known each other a long time. We're very comfortable with each other. Yeah.
Like we used to be around each other quite often, Benny. That's what happens. You come up with nicknames for
I'm trying to think about it. I think these days I do usually call each of you Chris and Sid. You sometimes Kristen.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've called you Sydney in years.
I actually made it a point when I first started working here to like introduce myself as Sid because it was so proper to hear Sydney. And I'm like, okay, how long can I do this for?
So very quickly before we get into it, they're sort of responsible for getting all of the content that 60 or so people here work on out to all the various platforms that we distribute to, whether that be YouTube or Facebook or and Twitter or what have you. And they actually watch those upload and do a large portion of the reporting and kind of analytics. So
they're very
to help us
around the videos.
Yes.
Once they're live, they're very
kind of the caboose.
them.
They're kind of the caboose. they're the caboose of the production train. Would you agree, Benny?
I would say that if you want to get attention, if you use like caps lock in videos and say things like Sid, Kristen, high probability they might respond to you because it'll stand out because they're there.
They are in the comments very heavily in that first.
We're always aware of what you commenters are saying.
Yes, but obviously that's a big part of like what we do here is trying to understand how well videos do once they get out there, and they're integral to that process of helping producers and helping us understand
Are we gonna get
if
into
stuff
that?
is making it to. No, I was trying to do a very quick run.
Are we going to get into that though, John? Are we going to talk about like the reports and things like that?
There's not a lot. So we obviously this podcast is all about questions from viewers and fans in the 5%.
But I want to know.
Not a lot of them are questions. Well, one of them, yes, is specific to that. So we can
get into it. Like what a VRR is.
If you
want
after our report,
I want to know what they are.
I wish we could. I wish we had some kind of like tracker or poster around the office that whenever people came up with new acronyms for things, that it's almost like acronym established 2016 by Sid.
There's so many acronyms at this company. Yeah. Like now that I think about it, because whenever someone is new, like there's so much to like, you hear so much lingo. I'm seeing there's, for you guys back there, Chase Steven, was it like, yeah, there's nods of yes. Hard to follow of like what is OG, RC,
you have
FBE,
to do a
VRR.
OG, in PS before the EC, after the EC. That happens.
Yep, you got to EC.
And eventually you do the RFA, then the RFU, then the VRR, and then that's what.
I should start calling release schedule change emails the RSC.
RSC, there you go.
RSC, FBE channel, such a shorter, condensed title.
And then the LC, live coverage emails, everything like that.
I like it.
So
the LCLC, the Laugh Challenge live coverage.
We're gonna nerd out pretty heavily on social and programming stuff with Sid and Kris later in this episode. First, what we do is we talk about a little bit of company update stuff. We get into a bunch of questions that have been sent in on our various social media channels for our special guests. We try and answer a couple questions that you guys have sent in either on Twitter or on YouTube, just about the industry, our channels, or life in general. And then we talk a little bit about feedback and fan response that we've seen over the previous week on our content. So that's kind of what you get from an hour of hanging out with us. Off the top, company update stuff. We just did our meet and greet a week ago when this comes out in LA, and we met a couple hundred people that came out to hang out with us,
including a handful of the 5% that I'm sure are listening to this right now because you made sure to identify yourself. There was the youngest member of the 5% as one of the self-identified probably listening. I was like, you listen to the podcast? It's like, I do listen to the podcast. I'm like, have you found John? Quote from him, he's so tall.
It was pretty beautiful. It was an amazing experience to kind of hang out. We did it at the YouTube space in Los Angeles, and yeah, like we had never done anything like that before. We didn't know if people were gonna like come out to like hang out with us on a Friday night, but it was amazing. It was incredible. A very
special experience. I would say that if you don't know what we're talking about, there'll be videos on the FBE 2 next week.
No, they would have already come out by now. The second video already is coming out today.
You're right. They already were out on FBE2.
Go subscribe to FBE2.
You'll already know about all of this. But pulling up and there being a line of people like waiting to get in for us, it was a very unique experience in my life, having been in many lines, being a fan of many things, of that excitement and feel. I'm around all these people that love the same band that I do, or is excited to see this movie that we're all waiting to see at midnight, and they were all there for FBE.
Right.
Hard to describe the feeling. Even as long as I've been doing this, like I never would have thought that was possible. And it's possible thanks to a lot of you guys. And
how long did the line wrap down?
When I got there kind of early, and there was still a pretty decent amount of people, but some people were saying it went all the way down and around.
Wow.
I went around 7, so I wasn't able to see the line. But there was definitely a big turnout.
Yeah, wow. It was pretty cool. I mean, massive turnout from the reactors of all ages. There was more elders in one place than has ever been. Like almost all of the cast came, which is so cool. And almost the entire staff was there too. It was a great time. People got to audition. There's a whole bunch of, it's like direct auditioning. It was cool.
If you want a very bite-sized piece of that experience, I think I went live on Facebook from the event, and there's a good 40-minute live stream on our Facebook page. Yeah. If you want to see a lot of my face walking around the event, trying to interview reactors and talk to people that were watching the live stream, or check out our 2 vlogs on FBE2.
But thanks for coming out, for those of you who are listening that came, and we know how much more of you want, and you don't live in LA and things like that.
That's why we did the live stream. The live stream was a 40-minute apology to the rest of the world.
So we're trying to do more. We want to hear from you guys of like what types of things would you want from live events, or types of things that you think are good ideas to engage with all of you guys. Because if anything, this was motivating to do more things like it. So hopefully over time we do more things like this and try to figure out what is a bigger version of it that can maybe include more people.
Moving on to Sid and Kris. Before we jump into that, Benny always scribbles some notes before we start these things in terms of questions he wants to ask.
I think I'm covered.
But Love Cheer kind of kicks us off, so let's give some credit to...
Go for it, and then I'll parlay.
On Snapchat, Love2Cheer8 sent in, when did you guys, talking to Sid and Kris, start working at FBE, and how did you find out about it?
Go ahead.
So... Maybe you want to start, Sid, and then Benny's going to start interrogating you.
Okay, sure. Well, we started at the same time, actually, same day.
August
9th, 2015 was our start date. And we both interned here, actually. So we're basically just like family, essentially. Just like we walked in together, was like, hey, we're a part of FBE now, yay! Anything else you want to say about that, Kris?
So I don't remember what year you were an intern, but I was an intern. 2015 is the same year that I actually got the job here, so it was pretty cool. I got out of college and then I landed a job. So yay! Thanks to John, he interviewed me.
So Kristen, when you were interning back, like how did you come across the internship, and what made you interested in seeing what FBE was all about?
To be honest, I actually have never heard of FBE or the React channel, but I have a friend who actually knows Brandy, and he used to work with her on Big Brother.
So Brandy, who, if you was on the podcast early on, but she runs our alternative television department. Continue.
he told a class about this internship for FBE, and so I applied to it and I got it, and I was really excited because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't watch too much YouTube at that time either, so just to see this whole YouTube community, it was really awesome.
So even after the internship, you were obviously, because you've been here now all this time, but
yeah,
you were like, hey, I don't want to leave.
I really hope they give me a job because otherwise I'm not leaving the building.
I mean, it was definitely different from what I expected. And there were so many, actually, there was less people here. There's probably maybe like 15, 20. And we had like just one office. And just to see it grow, I was like, wow, I can't believe I was one of the first 20, first 50.
Yeah, just the right side.
Yeah.
I like going back of because we do intern town halls at the end of every semester. Rafi and I will spend an hour with the intern class of that semester just talking. And then there's a picture, and then there's the picture of you from that. I
didn't get a town hall during my year, actually.
What? But you're in a picture.
I'm in a picture for Fine Time.
I could have sworn that you were in a group intern picture.
I swear I wasn't.
You just missed it? Because we definitely did it. Were you just not there?
I don't remember that.
Well, I think there was the intern Fine Time, where it's like you have all the interns from that.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
It was the intern Fine Time.
Yeah, this new town hall thing.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
You're right. I'm wrong. My memory failed me. My memory failed me. But Sid,
yes,
you were an intern at a completely different time of the company.
I was very early on.
Yeah, you were in the first like 6 months of the company being a company.
I was actually. I didn't realize it was that early, but wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so you were in the previous office, even the small office where all the My Music stuff was made. But that's when you came on. Was during the My Music was in production.
Yep. Season one of My Music.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing all the My Music sets like to the left, and then like I walked in, and I had been a part of the YouTube community for a while then, and I was like, wait, like Fine Brothers? You mean I can like work at Fine Brothers? Really? And that was, I think we had just gotten 1 million subscribers like right then.
It was somewhere around there.
Because I saw the YouTube button, right? The golden button that we get.
Man, yeah. I just the timelines of these things.
But it had just gotten there, and I'd never seen anything like that before. And I was like, "Whoa, this is so cool!" I remember taking a picture of it. But yeah, I mean, that was a great experience interning here.
Yeah, and then over the years, that
was like 6 years ago.
Yeah, but you were gone for a long period of time.
I was, yeah. And actually, it was my first birthday here in Los Angeles, and you guys got me a birthday cake, and it was one of the nicest things that I can remember. I was like, "Oh, I got a birthday cake! Thanks, everybody."
But yeah, because then once your internship ended, it was also right in the. In an ambiguous time at the company, even because we didn't know if My Music was going to get picked up for a second season, and we weren't as sustainable at the time. But then over time, once My Music season 2 was in production, I would see you all the time because you were working with Google Glass, I want to say.
Yeah, I was.
And I would see you all the time.
I forgot that. Yeah, you saw me a few times at the YouTube space. Yeah. So basically the story there is that I actually left the internship to go work at Google. And that was with Google Glass. And it was like this whole thing. I was like, "Well, this is so crazy." And then season 2 picked up, and I went to the space. I saw Brent. I saw a few different people there that we worked with. And I was like, "Hey, Benny, what's up?" I was like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "I'm teaching people how to use Google Glass." It's like, that's crazy. What's up, man? Yeah. It was fun.
Sid was walking around like a cyborg on the YouTube space.
I had like the whole
My Music.
Yeah, I had the whole thing like.
So what brought you back from Google to want to come and try to join FBE?
You know, I just realized that I wanted to be closer to the action again. I mean, YouTube is such like a part of my being. I can't stop myself from loving everything about the community and the people, and I saw an opportunity open up at FBE, and I was like, I know these guys, I love these guys. Yeah, sure, let's see if I can get this job, and I got it.
Also, you guys work down on the same floor that I do, so I end up popping in a lot into the social media office for random conversations or things about your LaCroix collection when that was going on. But it's a fun room in there. You guys know what's going on all the time in terms of what's exactly happening in the community by the minute. It's pretty cool. Last thing I'll bring up before we get to other fan questions, I want to bring up Staff React. One of my favorite Staff Reacts is when the two of you were together, and then you got the band wrong.
Oh yeah.
And so correct me if I'm wrong. Was it a Panic at the Disco song? You said it was Fall Out Boy?
Yeah.
And you both were like sure it was Fall Out Boy?
And You know what? I swear, we talked about this, John.
She blamed Sid to this day.
I do, because there's something wrong about it that I felt like it can't be this. But because Sid was so confident about his answer, I was like, okay, well, he's super confident, so I'm just going to go along with it.
Okay, I don't know which number guess that song that is, but everyone listening needs to go and find it, because it's this moment of when you know them and you know their job, and it made it into the episode. It's one of my favorite things that's ever been in any video. Your faces both drop immediately, and both of you start lamenting in horror of knowing what you have done to yourselves in the comments, and both of you shared this moment of, oh my god, we're dead. We're dead in the comments, because only you guys would know this deeply just how bad of a mistake this was.
It was terrifying. I mean, I truly remember that, like, realizing the producers said to me, no, it's this. I went, oh my God in heaven, no, not that fan base.
And then the very next week, Sid started going off on how bad K-pop was. And we were like, Sid, oh my God, how could you? How could you, Sid?
BTS is terrible. What? No, Sid, don't.
Do you worry in terms of like when you're on Staff React of knowing, oh man, I'm good with the comments, or do you not think about it?
I think about it all the time. I don't think I slept that night because I was talking to Sid and we would text each other like, oh man, we're going to get so much crap for this.
Yeah, we were texting. We were
Look
like,
what you guys do to them. They're like, they're traumatizing them. They're just trying to upload the videos.
Were you guys trying to like bribe the editors or something? Were you like, please don't use this?
No.
Please
It's
don't
phenomenal content. It's phenomenal content.
It was great. I mean, I remember, Chris and I just were so distraught. And I mean, I just put my head on the table. I was crying. I was in fear. I was like, this is really about to happen. This is about to happen.
Was it that bad when it came out?
It's also more embarrassing for me because our assistant editor, Karen, she took me to a Panic at the Disco concert not too long ago before I shot that episode.
Yeah.
So
was it horrible as you thought it was going to be in the comments?
No, I think because we apologized.
And we laughed at it and we were like, you know, it's cool.
Like if we had just been like, no, this is definitely Fall Out Boy, there's no question, like then they would have been mad at us. But then it was like Panic at the Disco, like, no.
I think they were more sad, like, oh, like they caught it
just
wrong.
Worried about us.
I got worried.
They were worried for us.
All right, to the fans.
Oh dear God. xfarihanuhax over on Twitter. So what exactly does a coordinator do in your department exactly? Chris, you want to take that
for
first?
Sure.
Channel coordinator.
I wanted to call out Sid because his title is traffic coordinator, and I've seen a couple comments saying that Sid, like, they wonder what he does because they think like he has
white gloves. He has white gloves and he stands in the middle of the office directing.
So those are really funny. I think I've saved a couple of those.
Yeah, a few times in the comments they're like, is he like the traffic controller of the parking lot?
Yeah,
like, what does he
helps
do?
in the parking lot.
And yeah, thanks for letting me on Staff React, everybody. I just love parking cars. But basically, with the coordinators, what we do is I do everything before the video goes live, and then Kristen does everything after the video goes live. So back in the good old days of annotations, I would get all the annotations set, I would get all of the metadata set, all the descriptions, all the tags. I mean, really just riveting stuff. And
but it is in a way. This
it really is
people
though.
who do YouTube. Like, that's their life, and it was my life prior to people like you being here. Like I used to upload. I used to traffic, and I did both sides of it by myself. That was what I would do. I would wake up and I'd get everything ready, and then Rafi would check it, and like it was a whole.
And that was one of the most exciting parts of this job for me because I loved doing that stuff, right? And then like all of a sudden I'm seeing, what's our views per minute? What? This is crazy, you know? And I would see all the tags that were working and the title changes and the thumbnail updates and all this stuff. So I do everything beforehand, and then Chris.
Yeah, so I do everything after. I do look at the comments. I read every single one of them, and I take down the suggestions, so I do know what everyone is asking for.
Get on our good side to include your suggestions.
I think I've seen a couple of those
Chris
where
in your
it's like, Christian, please put exactly. Yeah. I've seen a couple of those, and I'm like, oh man, okay. But yeah, that's how we pick out the suggestions and send it to the producers, and hopefully we do a show on that.
And you see the same suggestions, and you're like, all right, well, people want to see this, and that's what we choose.
So what else entitled? But you're also like, there's elements of social channels, not just YouTube, with certain things that you traffic as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually crazy to me. Sometimes we have 30, 40 pieces of content a day that go out across the 6 different main channels or 5 different main channels that we use. So it's, Facebook, Twitter, there used to be Snapchat, Instagram, Tumblr, everything. And then obviously YouTube. But yeah, I mean, there's all the Facebook uploads, there's the Twitter uploads, there's all the metadata that goes into those.
How many uploads a day on Facebook right now?
Oh, geez. 10, maybe.
Isn't that crazy? It's something
like
that you don't think about because the system is so different that like we just like there's just a fire hose over at Facebook.
It actually might be more. It might be closer to 15 a day on Facebook.
Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just all kinds of content too.
Yeah, if you're not familiar, on Facebook we upload the actual video, but then we'll also upload different clip cut downs of the actual video because on the platform of Facebook or on Twitter, shorter things will sometimes do better, or there's just this really, really funny, hilarious sequence that should be its own piece of content, but the way YouTube works, none of you would be happy with that. You'd be like, why did you just re-upload this 15-second thing? But in places like Facebook, it actually can work and be shared in the kind of share economy of Facebook. It's very interesting.
I mean, it's the same way on Vine too, is you upload that certain type of content that works on that platform and wouldn't necessarily work everyone else. Yeah.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P. Vine.
Chris, what about, so afterwards with comments and reporting, but I was talking about the reporting earlier. You also kind of handle like the what is it that you are putting together that you send to the producing team?
So these are the VRRs, the video release reports.
Yeah, video release reports.
I think we've had different names for that before too.
So many.
Like the after hour, the flag emails, things like that. So pretty much I would gather a lot of positive comments, you know, talk about like what people are liking in this episode, what they're not enjoying so much, things that they'd like to see more often, more reactors. So there's definitely a lot of love there. Yeah, I put down the analytics, so I take down like the likes and the dislikes, how the views are doing per minute, per hour, and then again at the end of the day. So I'm definitely looking at it throughout the entire day.
Yeah, so we have data on everything, and that's why a lot you hear how we end up so knowledgeable about things like the algorithm and when things have changed because of these reports that we have now for years where we instantly know, well, this is not how this show usually performs, but that comes from the work that you're doing of like providing this was last episode, this was this last type of episode, and you're so quick. I'm fascinated even of how your systems are even set up, because anytime a producer or myself end up saying, what about this episode in comparison to, it feels like within 30 seconds, there it is, the exact thing we were looking for, even if it came out months ago. And it feels like,
Here's my secret, Benny. I look at it beforehand, and I'll put 2 suggestions, maybe one like a previous episode, or one that's maybe that came out longer ago.
So you're anticipating what people are going to want.
Yeah, I kind of know what you guys are going to ask for. So I put it on the side, and then once you guys ask for it, or before you ask for it, I'll just
mind reader. You're in my head. You're in my head. Even though it's not really me anymore, but still, you're in my head. All right, next question.
This comes from Twitter user Leah Casselman.
What?
Oh, Leah Casselman.
No way.
Who is your favorite person to share an office with that isn't Jordan?
Well, Sid.
My favorite person to share an office with that isn't Jordan.
Yeah.
It's from Leah Casselman.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe Leah Casselman. I love sharing an office with her for sure.
Agreed.
Do you want a shout out Jordan and Leah for people who have no idea what you're talking about or what this question is?
Yeah, sure. Jordan and Leah are our coworkers that work in the same office with us, so they're part of the social team as well. And yeah, without them, we would be just lost.
Leah sent felt like what 10 questions into this.
Yeah. She left a lot of at replies to this Twitter question.
Hey, Leah.
I was a part of the social team with Sid and Kris prior to either Leah or Jordan, so I know intimately well what it was like when it was just the 2.5 of us trying to run things. But yes, I from everything I've seen and know, it's been amazing to have them on board and have them kind of sharing responsibilities, just because it is, with the amount of content that we're able to release now, it's pretty ridiculous. Okay. Speaking of Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, let's light some more fandom fires. Alyssa Pemzy5 over on Twitter, Marvel or DC? And then, hey, it's Aubrey over on Snapchat, wanted to know your favorite superhero. So Marvel or DC, Kris?
Marvel.
Superhero. Favorite superhero?
Spider-Man.
Okay.
DC, Superman.
Interesting. Now here's Benny, just give me yours.
Marvel and Iceman from the X-Men.
Good one.
Always been my favorite character.
Good one.
Not in the movies though.
No.
I just, no offense to whoever that actor is, I was always disappointed that they made him like one of the students when he's one of the original X-Men. Like, this is unacceptable.
First of all, Benny didn't like the Ice X that he made for Rogue.
huge comic book nerd in his youth. He was a huge comic book nerd.
I just love Iceman so much, and he was not represented properly.
He takes the humidity from the air and literally creates
Benny, what is
ice.
it about? First of all, my answer is Marvel Deadpool, probably. But Benny, what is it about Iceman that like Do you remember when you were young being like, he is the coolest?
I think when I was young, there's
pun intended, I guess.
I liked the power. There was something about being able to freeze things that I thought was cool. And he was always a little bit of the X-Men that was X-Man trying to prove himself. He was always kind of considered like less than, both in popularity, where everyone loves Cyclops or loves Wolverine, but Iceman not really represented nearly as much. And then over time, he actually like developed massive powers and different things in the comic book over time. And then even recently, he came out as gay in the comics, which added me like, oh, this is the greatest. Did he? Did you see that? I didn't know.
Yeah.
See, I need to keep reading because that's like, man, what a life that Iceman has had, even though the canon probably has reset a bunch of times. But Iceman and Black Panther have always been my two favorite characters in the Marvel Universe. So I'm actually super...
It's going to be a great movie.
I'm very excited for the movie.
I hear there's a cameo of Iceman in Black Panther.
It's not true.
Get out of here.
But they're not even allowed to yet. Disney doesn't buy Fox.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Spider-Man was in the Avengers.
But they haven't figured out that deal yet, and that was Sony.
John.
Okay, listen.
John,
the thing
we
about
can have a whole
Black
podcast
Panther,
about that if you want.
The Black Panther movie, we can add another podcast to my list. The thing about it is I don't really love action in movies, and I love the superhero movies for all the character development and kind of the world that they've built. And whenever there is the fight and chase, I'm always like, okay, let's get past this and get back to the character stuff. Unless it's done in a short, quick, condensed way. Like,
Which
I feel
is
like,
why you love Michael Bay movies, is it not?
I feel like it was done fairly well in Civil War, but I feel done terribly in all the Avengers movies. While Black Panther just looks like there's going to be just a little bit too much action when I want it to be just about Wakanda and the characters. And either way, it's going to be one of these moments that I have a lot because as a kid reading the comics, I thought it was impossible to ever make these movies. It didn't seem possible back then. And all the time I have moments watching these movies of like, I can't believe I'm actually seeing this, what little me would have thought. And Black Panther on screen for me at Civil War was like tear-jerking of like, I can't believe I'm actually seeing the Black Panther who I just love so much. Anyway.
For better or worse, that was actually the exact same way I felt about the DC movies. I'm like, they're actually doing this. That's crazy. I mean, thanks a lot for what you did, but you know, it felt really cool.
Wonder Woman was good.
Yeah, Wonder Woman was great.
I have two follow-up questions. Iceman versus Frozone. Who wins, Benny? And have you seen the Incredibles 2 teaser?
Yes, but come on. And I know that I'm kind of in the minority, surprisingly. Who likes Jack?
Everybody.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. But like, I did not like him in the movie.
Jack's the best.
I don't want just... No, I don't. It's not what I want. So it was literally everything I would not want in a teaser was that teaser. Give me some Frozone though, and I'd be down. Frozone kind of is Iceman and the Black Panther combined, so I think I gotta go Frozone.
Exactly.
And my one question for Sid, and this is, we won't say anything about Justice League, although it's been out for 2 weeks, but I guess by the time this comes out, or at least 1 week. Yeah. My problem with Superman in the DC universe is he's One Punch Man to me. He's a live action One Punch Man. And I'm just like, where's the conflict when you have One Punch Man walking around the city?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to gauge how powerful the being like that can actually be. And that's when you get into all the Jack Kirby New Genesis stuff and all the new gods. And it's like, whoa, there's people out there that could defeat Superman. This is crazy, you know? So yeah, he is One Punch Man basically.
Interesting. Okay, we got to move on.
Yeah, I could do 2 hours about that.
The superhero podcast.
Let's add to the list. Superheroes, Disney. What else wasn't there a weird math one that we were maybe going to do?
Algorithm Hour.
The Algorithm Hour.
I don't know. There's a lot of different podcasts. Someone track all the different podcasts I mentioned. Hopefully one day there's a Macarena podcast. If there's a Macarena podcast,
oh my god,
then maybe things will really be good.
I have one punch stuck in my head.
gamespaceyoutub over on Twitter wants to know, what is your current favorite social media platform?
So okay, I want to make a twist on that. Your favorite one that you actually use for your personal life, and then your favorite one that you deal with when you're representing FBE.
Oof. Chris?
So personal Instagram. If anyone watches my Instagram stories, it's mostly about food. It's what I'm eating, what I'm cooking, all the time.
What dog you're near.
What dog I'm near. Yeah.
Usually Lily.
You got a great dog.
Thank you.
Dog.
Steak, seafood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everything
Follow Kristen to get hungry.
Yeah, it's true, actually. It's very true.
And then for work, I would say Facebook. Yeah. I love watching on Facebook here. I mean, I know we put out so much content, but even the little clips that we put out still make me laugh. Like,
yeah, the clips are great. Like it's a different way to experience the same piece of content. I love the clips.
Personal life, I'd say Twitter is my favorite, just because there's so much easy access information there, and it's just like so many different communities. And then for work, I think I would have to go with Facebook as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, because we do, like Chris said, we do put up a lot of content there, and it's just like so interesting to see, you know, how many places that we post, and you know, our engagement on there is so much easier to track and that sort of thing. So
yeah, Twitter for me all the way.
Yeah,
I'm a big Twitter fan, and the FBE account is this thing I gave birth to years ago of like fully just running that thing for a long time, and I built it up to its 1 million followers over time before I now have nothing passed off and never touched the FBE Twitter. Occasionally, you'll see me sign my name if it ever is me, which is usually if I'm talking to another YouTuber and I know that they don't follow my very small personal account and they probably won't see it, so I'll write them from the FBE account. But that's the only social network I actually have personally is Twitter. I don't even have an Instagram. I guess I have a personal Facebook page that I don't use really.
Benny periscopes a lot.
Right. But yeah, there is the Benny Fine Twitter now, but I don't do too much over there. I thought when I like got it that like, oh, I'm gonna just have a lot of fun with this and it can just be me again.
You do like midnight to 4 a.m. Q&A periods.
I have my moments here and there, but I will say I do love the vibe of just having 3,000 followers, and it's just so different for what I've been used to for so many years.
Hashtag humble brag.
But I don't. But I don't really.
I mean, it's
use
so
it that
quaint.
much.
My 3,000 followers.
It's so great. It is really great. I appreciate the people that are over there, but I'm not on there enough. Maybe I've been thinking about doing weird things on my Twitter, like if Degrassi ever comes back, doing like tweets about Degrassi or whatever, things that are like, okay, he's talking about that.
Live tweeting movies is a lot of fun if you ever did that.
I used to do a lot of live tweeting on the FBE account. I think
No, you would do it on that photo.
That was different. That was just about
Daily
uploading.
Booth.
That was a long time ago.
You guys use Daily Booth?
Way back when.
Oh, yes, Daily Booth.
But the Instagram before was Instagram.
Yep.
Wait, so great.
To finish the story, like I used to live tweet major events, and I think probably my finest live tweeting was for the 2012 London opening ceremony, where we were there, not at the event, but in London for the games, and it was really late, and I think both John and Rafi had fallen asleep, and I was just up in my own head just live tweeting this entire thing. And if you go back, I think it was pretty good. That, and I think they did the Oscars one year.
Did you use a hashtag so it'd be easier to find?
I don't know. If you go back, I definitely had... I don't know. I'm not usually that funny. And I had moments where some of the followers even saying, wow, like this is actually funny, because they knew how not funny I am.
Good job.
It's easy enough to find because it's very easy to Google London opening ceremony and then go back to that time period on the FBE account.
That's true.
I want to know, what is your favorite now defunct social network? Is there a now defunct app or social network that stands out to you?
I can't think of any right now, but take it away if you have one.
Yeah, I mean, you said Daily Booth. Daily Booth was, I met some of my closest friends because of that. I had a girlfriend because of Daily Booth. And it was, I loved Daily Booth. That was such a fun community space where it was just... Fun
fact, there was a line in F the Prom, coming soon. Plug. Trailers out. Plug. December 5th. Plug. But that I ended up cutting from it because it just didn't work, and also the actors had no idea what Daily Booth was.
Really? I don't even know what that is.
I know. This Daily Booth essentially was Instagram, but the idea was every day you'll post a picture of yourself and you'll interact with other people, but it was all picture based.
But it was also not. There was no real smartphone integration then. So basically what it was is you would have to take a picture with your eyesight, essentially, which is the camera.
Webcam.
Yeah, your webcam. And then you post it on Daily Booth. And it really was like the most pure form of every single day you're posting a picture. And
if you go back to a video that's still on the channel, if you look up the American Idol interactive experience behind the scenes video, which is actually a great video that Rafi made about how we made that ridiculous thing with just him and me. But in it, he talks about the upload process of this very elaborate annotated interactive game. And what I would do, and what John was alluding to, is it would take, I think it took me 12 or 13 hours every time we do an interactive to actually upload and annotate all of them. So I'd be up all night doing it, so we'd be ready to go live at the right time in the morning. So I would take a picture on Daily Booth, every single video that would finish uploading, and I would tell people on Twitter, follow us on Daily Booth, and you'll see me all night posting these things. So there's all these pictures I would take on Daily Booth. But there was a line, because the movie takes place a little bit too late for Daily Booth, but I didn't care. Another reason why I cut it then, when I realized my math was a little bit wrong, because I just wanted this line so badly.
Was that like 2011 or something?
Yeah, but it would have been, the years just roll by too fast.
Yeah.
So, but it would have been around there where they made reference when they're supposed to be younger of like, oh, we're not even on Daily Booth.
Yep.
And then I cut it from the movie, and they were like, what is Daily Booth?
God, Daily Booth.
Rocket1909 over on Twitter. Maybe this maps to your Insta stories, Chris. Favorite current food? Sid, there's a way that you can answer this that reflects the last 24 hours, but Chris, what is your favorite food?
That's really hard because I tried so many things, and once I have that favorite, it just adds onto my list.
Look at how
there's no one.
Oh, yeah.
This is like asking like favorite movie, and most people go, "There's just too many." You're like, favorite food.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like I can say steak and lobster.
Desert
whatever.
island food. You have a desert island. You can only put one food in the case to keep you alive for a month, and you got to eat it every day. What are you gonna eat?
Can I guess for you?
Go for it.
I would say lobster.
I think your favorite
is
lobster or
yeah.
steak.
Yeah,
because
steak,
I do
exactly.
love seafood. So yeah, I guess I'll go with the lobster.
She goes to surf and turf. No, you go
Yeah.
with the steak. You can catch the seafood on the island, Chris. You can catch
I really?
I don't know, but you have a shot. You can't catch a cow on an island unless there's cows there.
Yeah. You know, I'll stick to the lobster.
I mean, you have some of the most elaborate buffet selections.
That is true.
And they always involve lobster. It's like, get the lobster, get the steak.
Yeah, I like to go as a hobby to go check out like different lobster
true.
buffets to see which one has the best.
That's like a hobby of yours?
It is. It
That's the
really
thing.
is.
Living in Florida, there was so many different types of buffets. It's like a way of life down there, I suppose. And then we moved out here, and like there's not a lot of buffets in Los Angeles.
Yeah, you got to go out. Like,
Yeah.
You don't count the like Old Country buffet here?
Look, there's a hometown buffet.
Yeah.
That's
see,
about it.
that's the thing. See, I can have an argument with this. Like, I remember with Sid, we were talking about this because we were talking
Or
about
Sizzler.
steaks.
Is Sizzler?
I love steak, and I love a good one that has the perfect marbling on it,
Sure,
as
yeah.
in like Fleming's and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
then we got into talking about Outback Steakhouse and like what's
gross.
that other one? A Black Angus. They just
Yeah.
don't compare, but they're still good.
What about Brazilian steakhouse?
Like Samba,
yeah.
those
it?
are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially it's unlimited. It's all you can eat. Can't say no to that.
I've been craving that recently because Cynthia, our production coordinator, tweeted about like how she went to one for the first time. I was like, oh man, I love the
delicious.
Brazilian steakhouse.
Yeah.
And the vegans listening hate us all.
Well,
I love Brazilian
you
steakhouses.
can go
They're
to a
great.
Brazilian steakhouse and just do the salad bar.
They walk around with swords, Benny, and you know how amazing that is to see. It's so cool.
I always wanted, like, how do I have a professional career where they allow me to use a sword?
Exactly.
Brazilian
Well,
steakhouse. You didn't answer yourself, Sid.
My favorite food is going to be a weird one, but my favorite food is tuna fish casserole. And
I
it's
could
just
have guessed
something.
that. That's like all you eat.
So I don't know. There's like a very home feeling. But what John is alluding to is that last night around 7 p.m., I remember it so clearly, I ate a ghost pepper for the ALS fundraising that's going around right now. And oh my God in heaven, that was a bad decision.
Was it bad during or just after?
I would say it was the 10 hours after was worse than eating it. But it was for a good cause. And I mean, it was, yeah, the ghost pepper is no joke.
Benny, have you ever had a ghost pepper before?
No,
No.
Will you, before you die, ever have a ghost pepper?
it could happen. I don't want to.
Willingly or
Well, it would
like
have to be willingly.
Yeah,
Wait,
you
no,
have to.
people could slide a ghost pepper.
I really
in
hope
there.
that nobody does that to me.
That's torture.
This plays in a little bit to the Marvel DC thing, but not necessarily, because this could be any one of a number of fandoms. Actor Dufresne over on Snapchat want to know, has anyone on the staff ever cosplayed before? But maybe you guys could answer that. Or if you haven't, what would you choose to cosplay as?
Chris, have you ever cosplayed?
I haven't. It's funny that you mentioned that
I feel
because
like you
I just
would.
messaged someone asking them if they can like show me the ways, because I have a friend who's like a major cosplay person, and they do it almost every single weekend, and they have all these fun costumes.
We have a bunch of cosplayers here at FBE.
That's
I
true,
know
yeah. Mark and Rachel.
Mark and Josh too.
Oh,
Josh like cosplays. I always see him at like Dragon Con or like E3
Yeah.
or something. What
Yeah.
would you guys cosplay as?
Chris, what would you cosplay as?
I don't know. Like in terms, I was thinking of anime, and the only anime that I've actually watched all the way through is like Sword Art Online. So I'd probably be one of the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have never officially cosplayed. I did.
Unofficially
yeah.
cosplay?
I mean, I
you
went as like.
unofficially, if you count Halloween, you were Evil
Halloween.
Morty.
Yeah, I was Evil Morty this past Halloween, which is great. But I had really been into the idea of going as Eren from Attack on Titan. I think that'd be so cool to like have the the 360 maneuvers and everything like that. That'd be so cool, and like have the jacket and everything.
Benny, would you ever have you cosplayed, or would you cosplay?
I have not cosplayed, but I will be Iceman or Black Panther.
I think it would be really funny though if you were Black Panther and then you like took off. It was like just Benny's head in Civil War.
See,
like what?
He was just a small white Jewish Black Panther.
People ask, I'd be like, "Oh, you're Black Panther." It's like, not exactly. I am Black Panther and Iceman.
Oh,
it's like, how are you Iceman? Well, because it kind of just looks. I mean, I don't look like Iceman really, but
he's cosplaying as Iceman, cosplaying as Black Panther.
Exactly.
Yes, this is perfect. This is gonna be my cosplay forever.
It could just be Black Panther, but it has like icicles coming out of everywhere.
Correct. Everyone's very confused. And it's like, no. I am Iceman cosplaying as Black Panther.
Well, you could have the Black Panther helmet, but it would be made out of ice. So you'd do that whole thing.
Well, that's a good idea. Someone needs to help me. When your friend that's figuring this out.
Yeah, I'll let her know.
Ecro 2003 on Snapchat. What is one of the best comments you guys have ever seen? Does it ever warm your heart to read the positive ones?
Oh, wow.
All the time. I love reading the positive ones, especially about like the elders. They're just so great.
A lot of like requests to adopt the elders. Like, can they be my grandparents?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of great positive comments. Thank you so much for making this content. It really helped me through a tough time. Those are great comments. Comments that are just like, wow, Sid, you're so hot. Those kind of comments, those are pretty cool.
Left by Sid's shadow account
exactly.
that he leaves for himself.
No, that's not me. That's not me. Just because there's so much. I think our community too on the comments in general is just amazing. We really try to. It's really built up as a very positive space and safe space, and I think that's really great.
One of the, and Sid and Kris also handle a lot of like documentation and stuff for the department too. And I remember reading one of the wikis about uploading and audience comments and stuff like that was about negative comments, because that's also kind of part of their job, is like when something really awful is said, especially about a minor or somebody else. And I think Kris wrote the line in the wiki that's like, this is going to be a sad part of your day or something when you're dealing with some of the bad side of.
But it is a reality. Like going back to the earlier days of the company when there was no comment filter and it was a whole different experience back then. Yeah. And that was something that we were talking to YouTube about for years, and part of a contingent that helped fix elements of the comments. Is still not perfect, but it really was like we did not want to have, and we're not talking about the criticism of not liking the video. That type of comments are fine. We're talking about the things that are being just negatively said about children and all this different things like that became like, we can't let these things be there. We don't want children to even the kids see it themselves, etc. So it became a whole part of it used to be me. We used to upload videos before we had any staff, and the video would go live, and then I would spend 12 hours that first day, because back then especially the amount of comments you had all algorithmically and different things mattered a lot more then than it does now for those types of things. So we had the comments set on approval only because there were so many and there was no way to deal with it. So for 12 hours I would sit there approving all of the comments, and because you were part of that system where, and again, it was not only approving the good ones, it was also approving the criticism ones that were fine to go through, which is almost all of them. But to weed out all of that really just vile stuff. But it's still something that you see when you're inside of these comments, and that is, I assume, part of all interview process for inside of this department is realizing you are going to see the greatest things and the greatest sides of humanity, and you're going to also see some of the worst.
All of your movies will be spoiled for you.
Oh, right, man. I remember back when we used to do the Game of Thrones spoiler recaps, and it was one of the early ones, and someone fully spoiled a major thing, and I knew better, and I was nowhere near the comments, and I think it was Julie who was involved in this back then, and I hear from the other room in the old office, no!
It happened to me when The Force Awakens came out. Remember? I think I actually remember, like, I was doing something in the comments, and then I went, no,
yeah, you were really upset.
God, what? I was literally about to go see this. Why would you do that to me?
I wonder the pressure for you guys on like Netflix, like that first weekend or like opening weekend for movies you care about, where you're like, I gotta get to that before the internet.
It used to be, Kristen deals with that a lot more now, though.
Oh, yeah. I see everything.
That's true.
Okay, we'll get one more question, and then we'll go into some of the company stuff. I guess this is tied to that. JDD JR777 Snapchat. How many comments do we get per day?
Oh.
Across the entire...
Yeah, per video.
Yeah, per video or per channels or
You
per...
can answer... He did not provide any specifications, so you can choose to answer that however you want.
See, that's the thing about looking at the comments, is that there's so many of them, and there's pages and pages, and they're not only invisible, but they're also in review also, and there's a lot of great ones that get caught there also. So I would say maybe like more than 5, 6, maybe even more 1,000 comments per video. And if it's really popular, and it can reach up to 10 on
jumping
ends.
in recently, if you believe the Creator Studio, there's 6,500 on Teens React to No Osiris, 3,200 on YouTube Couples Try Not to Move, another 5,000 on Taylor Swift College Kids React. Where's a big one? Over 8,000 on Elders React to the iPhone. That's probably because I got to the trending page. But yeah, it's an overwhelming amount when you think about it.
YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just YouTube. So tens of thousands is the answer. 10,000 comments on College Kids React to Rich Chiga.
Let's see.
10,000 on Marina and the Diamonds as well.
That was a fun episode.
Marina.
That was a great episode.
Switching over to questions that people have sent in for FBE or the channel or the industry. Queen Azura 03 over on YouTube wanted to know, what would it take to do another collaboration with Crunchyroll? How did that first one happen? I absolutely love that episode, and it's one of my favorite food ones so far.
Well, I think that what all of you guys have done by watching it as much as you did probably did the best possible thing to maybe do more of that with Crunchyroll, because that was huge. And that was one of, like, people sometimes will heavily complain about something being branded, and that was like, and we are always very open about the branding that we do, but that one, the nature of it was extremely branded, but just such a cool concept that it just doesn't matter. So doing what you've done is the best way. Who knows if we'll do that again with Crunchyroll specifically, but I would love to. That's always the hope. When you do something with a brand, the success of that could hopefully lead to more work with that brand, which is just going to help the company. So even if you don't love it, very important to support those brand deals on all the channels that you watch online, because as we've talked about on this podcast, YouTube demonetization, YouTube algorithm switches, the list goes on and on and on. So if you're not supporting your favorite creator when they have a Patreon, or when they have a movie plug, or when they are doing a brand deal, then you're really not helping that creator. You really got to jump on that. But that format, so cool.
Yeah, try not to eat.
Yeah, and just the recreation of the food. It's, I don't know, I feel like we're going to do episodes like that again, even if there is no brand involved, more than likely, just because it's such a great offshoot to the People versus Food format. And I agree with you. It's probably one of my favorite episodes we've done all year.
Jumping off on that, what's an episode? It doesn't have to be this year. What episode stands out to you guys most individually in terms of maybe at least that it happened like while you were here or while you knew about? Chris? Does an episode stand out to you being like, oh, that was really just interesting to you personally or cool?
No. Hold on, let me think about this. I was trying to think of something that I saw that I thought was extremely funny, but there's...
Well, I know that this past year, we did Teens React to Linkin Park, and that was by far one of the coolest moments ever, because when I was interning here, I was requesting that. I was like, can we please do Teens React to Linkin Park? Something, please react to Linkin Park. And then, we got to meet Mike, and then... it was just an amazing experience. And then with everything that happened, it was really, a heartfelt experience to be a part of that. And
I will say it's one of it's one of the coolest moments in like our company meetings and just being around when somebody is super passionate about a musician or a band or something, and we finally end up covering that and just seeing that person's excitement just
they're excited as the fans are in the company.
Like they can't believe, like when we did like Shelter and Madion, like I was like, like we're actually like we're doing, like who else knew about this French DJ? Like this is incredible. Right. But yeah, like that's happened with Linkin Park. What was Karen's? We Avenged Sevenfold for Karen.
DTS for Kelsey.
Who was Kyle's? Kyle was it Backstreet Boys or something? Like Kyle was.
I think. Well, then then there was one of the producers was really excited about. Oh God, what's that? The number 1974.
The 1975.
The 1975. Yeah.
It goes on and on and on in the sense of like that's part of it. Like I think the staff represent the fans in a way. Everyone, you can find a parallel to anybody. I remember it was Cynthia who was just asking for Marina and the Diamonds. I remember her asking me about it years ago of like, are we ever going to do Marina and the Diamonds? And it wasn't as familiar. And then she educated me on that. And then here we are down the road. It's like, oh, we did it. But yeah, it's interesting generally when we cover something here, the feeling that subject gets across people who worked on the episode or are familiar with it, where anyone that we've covered, I immediately feel more of an affinity towards whether or not they've engaged with the content, which incredibly most of the time the people do, but it still just makes it feel like, right, this was something that mattered because to all of us because we covered it. So whenever something cool happens with anything from Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared to Poppy to Baby Metal, to even random things over the years, like one of the weirdest episodes we ever did, the YouTubers react to the weirdest video you'll ever see with this very, very strange Japanese film, but it made me want to watch this very strange Japanese film, etc. And then even when things happen, like what happened with Chester and Linkin Park, it took on a whole other level here for all of us because we got, not only did we cover it, but we ended up being able to work with someone from Linkin Park, so it felt much more close to home. Even though we had nothing to do with the band, at all, but it just feels that extra closeness because of the content is about people's opinions about the thing, and so that happening definitely is just, it just makes it that much more relevant to, I think, of what we all do here.
Once and the videos that we make too. I mean, just like we were talking about the comments, you see things like, thank you so much for covering this and doing all that sort of thing. So I mean, even in meetings, like sometimes we'll like announce, the producers will announce a topic. I go, finally, oh my gosh, thank you.
I have a cool stat that I found with Ethan, the producer, where recently we did Teens React to Turkish Pop, and we were talking about how we want to do more foreign music. And I was curious, I hadn't looked at the analytics in a while. I was like, I know there's trending in Turkey. What is the viewership percentage in Turkey? I bet you it's higher than it normally is. And normally we're 50% US in the views, and then 50% that gets diverse between everybody else in the world. And we went over there, 41% of the views are from Turkey, which was double anywhere else. So the United States, of the views of that video, was 20%, 40% from Turkey, which is incredible to realize the reach, where we cover something that it becomes a moment that everyone that lives there starts sharing that it's been covered by FBE, and 40% of the views. It blew my mind.
As much as I love all the FBE videos, I like, especially on the React channel, I love the Try Not to Cry. I talk about that so much, especially I show it to my mom and everybody I know, because there's this, I can't remember which one it was, but
so a staff react Try Not to Cry.
It was a staff react Try Not to Cry. I remember it because I remember watching it on a Sunday because I put the video out and I cried on my desk and I was by myself. And I remember Rafi coming in the office, and because I was, G-chatting him and letting him know how the episode was going, and I told him I was crying on my desk. And he came in and he pulled out a line from that episode. I think he said something about dad lies or something like that. And then once he said it, I just like cried.
Yeah, he lies. I know that video.
Yeah.
Which video is that?
It's a commercial in the Philippines, maybe?
I don't know if it's
I'm not sure exactly where, but it's talking about how you see a father that seems completely put together, having this great time with his daughter and sending her to school and having all this fun. And then she's saying, Daddy takes care of me, Daddy this, Daddy that. But he lies. He lies about being happy. And then it shows all the scenes where he then drops her off, and then you see the difficulties he's actually having and the face he's putting on for his daughter. It's a good video. I really wanted to be in the Try Not to Cry.
I do too, Benny.
Because
you would cry immediately.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. I'm known for being a bit too emotional, I suppose, if there is such a thing. But I'm like, I would let myself cry. Like, it's like, I'm not going to put up the big front. I'll cry. I remember filming Try Not to Cries in the room, like with YouTubers, when we did the first YouTubers Try Not to Cry with Matt Pat.
Oh, wow.
And first of all, if Matt Pat is crying, it's just sad.
Yeah.
But second, like, he would then go deep, as Matt Pat does about everything in his life, about why it's making him cry. And I just remember, I don't remember which member of the producing team was with me, shadowing me that day, but I was like crying. They're crying. Kanira, the production assistant, who didn't even know we were filming, I think, I Try Not to Cry that day, when Matt was like, why didn't you tell me we were doing this? We're all just so sad. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Talking about emotions.
It is. Emotions
Please Try Not to Cry. If anyone's listening that is in charge of that creative.
Benny's trying to get some
and
casting.
I really hope you pick the right thing and make me cry. But
Benny,
I mean,
I might know someone that can get you into the Try Not to Cry.
I cry.
I
cry at E.T.
I aspire, like, I wish I could. I think I'm the worst person to put in a Try Not to Cry.
You were in that, weren't you?
Because I'm too aware of my, like, surroundings, and, like, I don't know. I I can't let my guard down like in that situation.
Yeah, I don't think I've successfully cried like bawled, but you know, Andrea is the master of crying.
Well, she became quite the meme.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Now I'm not remembering.
Can we pop that up? We should if we can. On the video portion.
Rihanna crying, or not Rihanna crying. Rihanna favoriting Bedoy crying. Jugeoben over on YouTube. You seem to show rock and metal mostly to kids and elders, and pop, rap, and R&B to teens and adults. Is this intentional? If so, why?
I wouldn't necessarily say that's a completely true statement. There's definitely been a mix over time, but generally speaking, the interest, and it even comes into, we talk about this a lot in this podcast, the realities of the way YouTube is, and it's not going to service everyone's content out to everybody. You've got to do the thing that is a little bit more of the viral idea, and it's more of a social experiment when you're showing elders things like rap music and rock music that is like metal, things that you would never expect a senior citizen to be familiar with. Same with children. You're like, what? You're going to have kids watch that weird Radiohead video? You know, trying to have these things that make you even go as a casual fan or someone that might look at it when you're searching of like, wait a minute, they actually did that? I'm curious. I want to check it out. Versus when you show those types of things to the other generations that they're going to be very familiar with it, and then it becomes, you know what you're going to get. Which, again, to service some of the fans, that works completely fine, though you guys would know, whenever we do things like that, there's also a ton of comments saying, what was the point of this?
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone already is familiar with this, and we're always trying to find that balance. So it weights itself a little bit more, but you can even look, like Linkin Park was a teens episode, and they are more on the metal side of things. So it all depends. I would say generally, though, I've seen other people ask this question, knowing how much of a fan of like metal music Rafi and myself are, of like, why do we not see more metal in Guess That, or Do They Know It, and things like that. And the reality is people don't realize how much it's not fun if they can't guess or know it either. So it becomes, we do it in pieces. But I've been lobbying for a while of like, let's put a bunch of metal fans in an episode of something and then do it and include me. And then everyone knows it's a metal episode.
But
and then even
you
if they
said
don't
you
know,
only want to do They Know It metal if it's between a very specific...
Okay, it's either all Metallica.
Right.
All Metallica. If it's not all Metallica, then
Name the Metallica song? Is that the episode you want to be in?
I would be all about that, and I would do so well. But anyway,
I would
even
see that you versus Rafi in that one.
Oh man,
that'd be great.
That'd be very the competition.
That'd be so
We'd
good.
be so angry with each other because we care too much about that band. But then if it's not, then it's got to be 1998 to 2002 new metal.
If any producers,
then I've got you.
If any RC producers are listening to this podcast, all we want is a Do They Know It Metallica edition just between Benny and Rafi. We don't need any other
Do They Know It? We'll know it all. It's got to be a Guess That.
Well, that's why I'm sorry. Guess That Metallica song, just Benny and Rafi for 4 straight minutes.
I do like the ridiculous aesthetic it would be if you sat down for a staff react and we're told whatever, it's a Guess That song, but this music is specifically from 1998 to 2002. You're like, okay, why?
Sure. I don't know.
But I'd be just as bad at that because I don't know any years of stuff. I would guess a band that didn't come out for 20 years.
Well, but you just wouldn't know. That was the thing. I would
guess a band that came out this year is the 1980s.
For me, it's basically like I was at Ozfest every year from 99 to 2002. Wow. And I missed 2000. That's right. I missed Ozfest 99. Ozfest 98 and Ozfest 99 was like the most incredible lineups that I look back being like, oh my god, I missed the epicness that would have been.
Hey, look, I missed the Daft Punk Alive 2007 tour, Benny. We all have regrets.
I missed a Van Halen collective solo concert that I wanted to go to so
do you have
bad.
A concert?
Yeah, I do.
My dad wouldn't take me. My dad wouldn't take me.
Chris.
I'm trying to remember the last time I went to a concert.
Was there a concert you were aware of that you really wanted to go to and you didn't go?
Or wish retroactively you had seen them live?
I would love to see Beyonce live, actually.
Beyonce, that's a good choice.
You can still do that, though. She's still alive and touring.
I had tickets to a Beastie Boys Rage Against the Machine concert.
Oh my god!
And I was so excited. No, hold on. I was so excited. Sorry. This is going to be unbelievable. And then there was an injury, and they canceled the tour. Mm-hmm. And then right at that year mark was where Rage broke up. And then right there I was like, that was it. I'm never going to be able to see them. I've never seen Rage Against the Machine.
That would have been cool.
And I really want to see the Beastie Boys too, which now is completely impossible.
Right.
What a show that would have been.
Oh my gosh. What a beautiful, that's a cool lineup. I don't know about me. I mean, I think I pretty much saw the bands I would like to see. I think actually this past year at FYF, Grace Jones was performing. and I did not go see Grace Jones perform. And I was like, oh my God, I should have seen that live. No.
Do you remember your first concert?
Yeah.
Do you guys remember your first concert? Think about it. First concert. Anybody?
Chris?
I'll say, what's the, oh man, Triangle Man. Who's that band that sang Triangle Man? And
I don't know what you're talking about right now.
I'm just going to Google it really quick.
Okay, I can go. I have first concert that doesn't count, first concert actual, and then first concert I chose to go to on my own. So first concert that doesn't count, I saw the Oak Ridge Boys, a country band at Busch Gardens, Virginia, when I was 11 years old.
That's my neighborhood.
And so we were there on vacation, and the Oak Ridge Boys were there. So my mom took me. I also could do Guess That Country Song 1992 only from the family trip to Virginia.
These are very specific
Trisha
episodes, Benny.
Yearwood, she's in love with the boy. I'll cry every time. Anyway, then my dad took me to the Allman Brothers Band, and we used to go every year to the Allman Brothers Band. It's his favorite band, so love them. Greg Allman just passed away this past year, so a very big deal for my family. But that was my dad taking me. And then it was I'm going to this concert and had to be brought into New York City to go and see System of a Down. That was the first show that I went to go see at a very small club before people know who they were.
That's a band that I would have loved to see. System
I saw
of a
them
Down.
6 times.
Oh my gosh, man.
And I got to see them again that first time. Super small venue in New York City. It was them and Incubus and Mr. Bungle, if there's any Mr. Bungle fans out there.
I'll do a correction here because it's
and
actually
Puya, the Puerto Rican metal band.
It's not Triangle Man, it's Particle Man. It's by They Might Be Giants. So They Might Be Giants was my first concert. First concert.
Chris?
Does EDC count? Can I?
Yeah, sure.
I went to
it's a
that,
festival,
but then the first I remember going to the mall and there was this mini concert and it was Sean Kingston. So that's the very first time.
Okay. My first concert was Spice Girls.
Nice.
Not kidding.
choice.
Yeah. Well, it was my sister and I share a birthday, so it was her birthday present was going to see Spice Girls. I was like, okay, I guess so.
Do you share birthday in different years?
Yeah, 1988 is mine, 1989 is hers.
So cool.
Yeah, exactly. It was pretty crazy. And then so Spice Girls, and then the first concert I ever chose to was Project Evolution tour, which was Linkin Park. And yeah, that's the band I saw the most in concert.
Favorite Spice Girl, Sid, go.
My favorite Spice Girl? Oh, geez. Oh,
Shake
God,
it to the
I
left
don't
if you know that you feel right. Isn't that one of the Spice Girls songs?
Yeah, Shake It to the Left.
That's mine, because that's the first one that came to my head.
I didn't
Spice
say
Girl
song, Benny. I was Spice Girl.
The first, what's weird is the first Spice Girl that came to my head was Jerry. She's my favorite, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
First concert. Do you remember, Jay?
NSYNC. There you go.
Okay.
Oh my
Steven?
Oh,
You too, and
Muse. First concert.
Not a big
Steven
deal.
laying down the law.
I now just realized it wasn't System of a Down.
What was it?
It was a radio festival headlined by Collective Soul, which is still one of my favorite bands. And we went because my sister was moving away, so we were like, we're all going to go to this concert because we love Collective Soul. Other incredible acts at this radio concert that I went to was Vitamin C.
Oh, there you go.
And LFO.
Oh, okay.
And the band that does Bad Boys. It was quite a concert.
I think that's their name. It's like Prince, the band that does Bad Boys.
But Collective Soul, I feel like a forgotten band of the 90s. So good. So good.
All about Collective Soul. Okay, recent releases. Anything you want to touch on, Benny?
Sure. We're probably a bit over on time at this point.
We got no rules, Benny.
see what
We
we
make
got.
our own rules at this point.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit.
Although, Sid, you're trying to go to a concert tonight,
Wait,
right?
speaking of rules, are we gonna do an episode on Dua Lipa? I have to ask.
On Dua Lipa?
Yeah.
It's been something talked about a lot. There's also rumor that she's a fan and is interested in reacting back. But she doesn't live here, so it's become a whole thing. But it's been talked about as someone that she seems to be a fan of the company. So
That's awesome.
maybe if that's true, I don't know, but I've heard.
Okay.
We'll see. So maybe it's definitely been on lists a lot.
Good to know.
Okay, good to know that you're interested. Okay, so we had the 100th episode of People vs. Food.
Yeah.
I don't think that came up last week, right?
No, it did. Or I thought it did briefly.
Did it?
Or at least that it was coming out.
Okay, so, well, maybe we already talked about it then. Oh, well, I did listen to the podcast, but clearly not well enough.
We might have skipped over it.
We'll skip over it again. We did 100 episodes, guys. We did it.
I really wanted the ice cream cake. It looked delicious.
Me too.
Yeah, it did look good.
But talk about YouTube couples react a little bit, because it's interesting seeing, like, when we first did it, it was Valentine's Day of this year, and there was just a huge response to it, and like it was a huge like, oh, it's a new format inside of YouTubers React, and it's so great. And it was like, oh, every few months or so we should do this again, and then we did, and then it was like, oh, people maybe don't love this that much. Then we did it again, and I'm like, oh, people still. I feel like it doesn't perform as well as the regular YouTubers React. So I'm very curious from the 5% if you do prefer regular YouTubers react over YouTube couples, the stats would show us that the YouTube couples reacts don't typically do as well. And I think what it is that it needs to be specific topics that make you care that it's a couple doing it, which makes me think maybe it should only be like a Valentine's Day thing that we do every year, because there's not going to be enough beyond challenge games that they can do against each other that's always going to be related to being a couple. But it is interesting to see, because I definitely thought that like it was always going to work, and I don't think it's working. So I'm curious what people think about
Leave a
it.
comment on the SoundCloud or the YouTube post of this. Yeah, which YouTubers react formats do you prefer?
Something I've wanted to do is YouTube characters react. But that would be very hard to coordinate. But the idea of people playing
Like
their characters,
Miranda?
Miranda and
like
Superwoman, and
exactly, and like Shane Dawson will play one of his characters, Brandon Rogers can play one of his characters. There's lots of characters out there.
There's a lot of them.
It could be really
That could
fun.
be like April Fools or something.
It's just very difficult to. These are like the people who have iconic characters are like the most busiest, most successful people.
Yeah.
So it's very, very hard to coordinate that. But it would be cool.
What if we do a casting call for like people that just do a good impression of that character on YouTube?
A long time ago, because we worked a lot with Melissa Villasenor, who's now on Saturday Night Live, which is crazy. And so she's a friend of mine. And so she was in, you can go back in time and find her in a lot of FBE videos years ago. Like the American Idol Interactive experience just came up again. You can see her playing 3 different characters in there. She's so great. But from doing that with her and being around someone so good at impressions, we were like, this could be really funny. To not do react, but the idea of like current events with a bunch of impersonators is something that we thought about doing at one point and then never did. So impressions can be funny. And then lastly, it's still just, I'll always bring it up, like there definitely was some shift that happened in September around YouTube. Other YouTube creators might be talking about this, I'm not sure, but there's definitely been another reset moment, and you can just see this roller coaster of the views. Like the last time I was on the podcast, I mentioned how we just had a week, and the first time ever that YouTubers React didn't get 1 million views in its history happened only like a month ago. And then we had this really great week where I thought, okay, maybe we've kicked back up, and now I think it's been almost 2 weeks since we've had a video that even reached 1 million views. Wow. So we're back on the FBE channel, though on the React channel there's been some videos that have popped lately. So and certain gaming episodes that have done really well. So it's an endless ebb and flow. So anytime you see an FBE video on your homepage, please click, because you're impacting a lot of other people.
Or just bookmark the videos page and bypass your subscription box and homepage.
That is the way to make sure you get it. But I would go farther of like, no, I think we need to activate the 5%, that if you ever see it on the recommended, you need to click, because it's going to tell the recommendation engine that people that are subscribed want to click. Because by you not clicking, it's making other people not even know about uploading.
Somebody actually at the meet and greet came up to me and was like, so sometimes if I can't watch a video, like I'll play it and then I'll click somewhere in the middle and then somewhere towards the end, hoping that gives you guys some kind of credit. And I was like, you can mute it and play in the background to like...
It's just one of those things that, you know, it's not definitive, it's just a theory, but it really does feel like the behavior of the people that happen to be there that first hour and a half is going to be the difference between a video being sent out to hundreds of thousands of more or less, just based on what it is. So anytime you see any of your favorite creators' videos, it's very important to click.
What are thoughts on actually like duration spent with a video playing versus skipping around? Like in my brain, I think it is the watch time.
I think it is the watch time too. It's a combination of...
Open a new tab. Go do something else.
It's a combination of choosing to click on it from your recommendation engine, because that also is going to make them recommend it to you more in theory, but I don't think that's true either. But it's clicking on it and choosing, and then how long you watched.
Every podcast we come up with a special hashtag that's related to that episode. Sid and Chris, what's a hashtag that you guys think would be representative of this podcast?
Okay.
Hashtag steak and lobster.
I was thinking that too. That was in my head. In my head was steak and lobster, or like interns or something. Because you both were interns.
We both were interns.
Yeah, we were.
Lobster interns?
Lobster interns.
All right. Perfect.
Hashtag lobster interns. If you want a chance at a shout out next week. We all have a list of usernames in front of us, screen names. These are all lovely, amazing members of the 5% that left the hashtag robot arms last week's podcast.
You put Rafi in a podcast and you get robot arms.
Any chance that Rafi has to talk about the robot apocalypse, he will glowingly do so. Special thanks this week to Adam Binder.
And Agnar Book.
And Alyssa Lockman.
And Aniston Anarchist.
Anton Civitan.
Blitcher76.
Bradley Bell.
Brother Not Brother.
Camila Aranciobia.
Candace Chu.
Christian R.
Colin Cormier.
Daniel Zamanier.
Epic Narvik 97.
Flavo Corbori Naguti.
Grant Butler.
Happy Awesome 3.
Hayden McCormick.
Jugeoben.
Kawal Chug.
Kyle IDK.
Kyungbin Min.
Luis Arginal.
Ma Machel.
Mama Chows.
Harry Elsabel.
Nikki Grajek.
PB Jelly Nightmare.
Peter Fontaine.
Prakash D.
Richard Logan.
Ricky G2. Oh wait, G.
Riordan Owens.
Rock Horvat.
Rubner Castillo.
Samuel Sabo.
Shahara Samsudin.
Sharpies Woods.
Siddiq Chaldi.
Simon James.
Super Mustache 555.
Unknown Thief.
Urbo 666.
Viking Lord 666.
Viking Pizza. Or Vincent. I don't know Viking. I was combining names. Vincent Pezza.
Wes Holton.
Will Stroker.
Willie Stroker.
I think that was Simpsons calling Mo type
I
of
know,
name
exactly.
there.
That's
And
exactly
John
what that was.
fell for it, apparently.
Look, I can't.
Or maybe that's what his username is, but he does it
I
on
feel
purpose.
so bad if that's
Wait,
actually his
is
real
that why
name.
you intentionally said
I
Will?
said Will, yeah. I was like, I didn't
That's what
want
he said it,
and then you said Willie Stroker.
And then you
I
said
was
it
like,
right
all
after.
right, well.
I do love like the compilations of like Twitch streamers getting mad at each other for not recognizing terrible usernames. Anyway, there's at least one amazing member of the 5% in each of these countries. If you're listening, we want to know where you're listening from. So leave us a comment saying I'm listening from, so we can add your country to our incredible shout outs each week. But special thanks this week to Canada,
Denmark.
El Salvador.
Germany.
Honduras,
India.
Indonesia.
Malaysia.
Mauritania,
Nepal.
Peru.
Philippines.
Slovenia,
South Korea.
UK.
USA.
Washington, Kentucky, Hawaii, California, New Jersey, and Utah. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us last week. Hopefully you're back with us this week, or maybe you just tuned in last week and you decided not for me and never came back again.
Maybe
in which
this
case,
is the first time
we
you're
didn't-
listening, in which case you probably didn't make it to the end.
Oh.
Aw.
No, there's.
okay.
I would say there's also first-time listeners that are hearing this for the first time.
How do we start identifying the first-time listeners that listened all the way through so they can get like a special shout-out for being first and I listened all the way?
If you have never listened all the way through, maybe use the first place emoji or
But the 5% listen all the way through.
no. But you just asked how to identify
First
the
time.
people
But
that listen
everyone's
for the first
okay.
time.
Can we trust the 5% to not do that?
I recognize a lot of these names, Benny.
of course. So do I.
If I see Nikki Grajek leaving the
Or Shara Shamsuddin every week.
Exactly. Or Kyle IDK. None of these people are allowed to leave.
You know who's here all the time? Willie Stroker.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Willie does
Benny
love to
just
hang out.
actively throwing us under the bus at this point.
More of
That
this,
really does
please.
feel like a
More of
Moses
that.
like
Yes, more of it. I want
Are
more.
you now? You're campaigning for people to just come
Troll
up with
us.
the,
I
to the
know.
troll
More
username.
comments for
I'm a
me to
child and I
read.
find it very funny.
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
I hopefully you guys enjoyed your time tonight hanging
Yeah,
out with
absolutely.
us on the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being part of this company from intern through all this stuff. And man, we couldn't do it without you guys. Like,
Thank you.
and shout out as well to the rest of your team with Jordan and Leah. Like, the social team is a machine that is easy to overlook, but probably one of the most
Without them, nobody would get any of our content ever.
It's equally as complicated as anything else that we do here is the spider web that you guys are in control of. So thank you, and I'm sure the fans, now that they know you, can thank you as well. So use Sid and Chris, Leah or Jordan in comments, and you
Yeah.
have a high probability.
Although we do
of
have
them
3
seeing you.
Jordans now, so you might have to get specific.
Jordan,
In comments. Hi, Jordan.
Jordan,
Just
say
say
hi,
hi,
who
Jordan.
loves the New York Yankees.
Yeah,
No,
that's-
she
And
does
definitely not the Boston Red Sox.
That's the complete
No.
opposite.
Tell
True.
Jordan the Yankee fan. Jordan the Yankee fan.
Oh my god!
Hi, Jordan, the Yankee fan.
Talk about the biggest troll on the podcast this week is Benny.
Had to be done.
It's a blast. Yeah, it's a blast being a part of the team. Absolutely.
Well, it's been a joy seeing you guys grow and blossom, and it's really enheartening. I think I don't
that's
know if
not a
that's a
word.
word.
That's
I don't
fine.
think that's a
That's
word.
It warms your heart.
It really warms my heart to see how you guys have grown and that you're still here and helping us build out this amazing company together. And I truly do believe that we wouldn't be here today without these guys. So very Thankful to Sid and Kris, as well as the rest of our team here. Jay and Steven helping us this week. Oscar somewhere, again, he disappears into the rafters when we start recording these things. We're not quite sure what happens to him. We're hoping he's okay and safe wherever he is. Thanks especially to the 5% and all you guys for tuning in and hanging out with us this week. Hopefully this was somewhat entertaining or enjoyable.
We always still want feedback. We've gotten very complacent, but tell us what else you want. We'll change it. You are the co-producers.
Yes, normally when I ask for questions in the podcast, even in the comments, it's a bunch of React suggestions. So again, I'm looking specifically for suggestions for the podcast. What do you guys want us to talk about? Let us know.
And hey, if you live in America, this happy Thanksgiving, eh?
Oh yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
I did a Canadian thing at the end of that though by saying, hey, but it's okay. Happy Thanksgiving if you're celebrating.
All right, see you guys later. Bye.
Thanks everybody.